Hello, everybody. I'm here with Dani Fontaine, and we're going to be talking a lot about CBD, cannabis, the endocannabinoid system. And Dani's actually been working with cannabis in a professional manner since she was 16 years old. Probably a user a little bit longer than that. But yeah, tell us about that. How did you get involved so young?
I can just tell you the plant found me. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's really how it got to me, is it just was presented in my life. There was this strong attraction, and it was kind of like best friends that had found each other, like human form and plant form. We met up and we just kind of created an amazing life together, I guess you could say, because I started with it as clearly in my life as an, I guess you could say, an illegal manner as far as regulation wise goes, but it's always been in my life in a purposeful manner, not like abusing it or like trying to just be like a super stoner. It was always very intentfully in my life. And then when it became legal in 2008, I was born in Colorado. In 2008, it was legal. I fortunately was around my dad at the time, who also is a lover of cannabis. And so he got involved with me to be able to start a company. He actually gave me a pound of weed and like $500 to go get the license.
Wow.
And so I got the license. I started it. I brought my mom on because she was an amazing chef. And so we did an edible company. My very first license was a legal edible company out of Colorado. So that started in 2008. And so it was the Wild West, like super Wild West, because there was actually barely any regulations to start the whole process. So we started it 2008 to 2012. We were in the THC industry, my mom and I. In 2012, we got out of the industry. We sold our license, like the recipe, basically. So we diluted the license, but we sold our recipes to a company called Chiba Chews. And Chiba Chews is like a huge... Well, they're like the largest edible company, I think, in the United States. But at the time in Colorado, they were our, not necessarily rival, but they were our competitor. Mm-hmm. We were both in like hundreds of stores throughout Colorado. Our products were more, my mom and I, we did organic edibles, and they were just like non-super sugary edibles because we were feeding cancer patients. So we didn't understand just sugary foods for cancer. It just didn't make sense to us. Like, okay, we're going to give them THC, but we're not going to give them healthy foods. Like it just, anyways, the industry's whack. So we got out of that space, sold our recipes to Chiba Chews. And then 2 years later, a legal hemp license was presented, and we got that. So we were the first legal hemp farmers in the United States since the Prohibition, my dad and I. So we planted industrial hemp, and we helped pioneer that space, started a company called Nature's Root, which is one of the companies that we're talking about today, which was really the first CBD company in the whole CBD industry, just by basis of us having the first license. We had the product first and developed it from there. And I basically helped develop hundreds of CBD companies off of our protocol and our genetics and the whole process. So kind of helped pioneer that space, and then went in really heavy into industrial hemp as well. So was doing lots of building materials, lots of just growing to, revitalize the soil, to clean soil. That was really a big part of what we did, or what we currently do. And then I created Better Aromatherapy, which is the other brand, which is terpene-based. So using all aspects of the plant in different ways. And now terpenes is the next one, which is terpenes are hydrocarbon molecules. So they're in a lot of things, everything we smell, taste, all of the goodness, plants, flowers, fruits, all of it. So it's in tons of different things. We're consuming it constantly, but I've concentrated them down to give a very specific experience with breathwork paired to it, and also fascia movements, because the three of those combined actually activate the endocannabinoid system at large.
Can we get into that a little bit?
Totally.
So I mean, one thing you mentioned at the very beginning is that like humans and plants are one.
Yes.
And I think that has something to do with what you're about to talk about, which is the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
And then you just mentioned breath, fascia, and
consumption.
consumption.
Yeah.
So let's get into that because that might be something that nobody's really heard about.
Yes. It's not spoken on. It's not, well, so it's very well studied. It's just not publicized. Our medical system has done a lot of private studies. Well, there's public, you just have to search for them. They're not publicizing them because the endocannabinoid system is the one system in the medical system that's not educated on. It's not in any of the medical books. We're not being taught about it. No one's being taught about it unless you're actually searching for it and you're trying to figure out this system, which I've done because I'm very passionate about it. And I've just worked with a lot of people that have needed the plant, which perfectly mirrors our body. So it's a blueprint to our body. And so that's why it works so well within us, is because it has all of the proper type link ups that we need for our receptors. So it has what our receptors need, and our receptors need what it has. Without it, we're these deficient beings. Like, we're actually deficient. Yes, we're mineral deficient. Yes, we have water and we're not hydrated, but like one of our main deficiencies is our endocannabinoid system. It's the communication network behind every system that we have in our body. It's the signaling that says, ding, 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 lungs, bronchodilate, and it's the cannabinoids that our endocannabinoids bronchodilate our lungs. That's the system behind. That's how important this system is. But no one's talking about it because it's created all of the medical system's pharma drugs.
So they're actual
all of them.
pharmaceuticals are talking and communicating with this system.
Yeah, 100%. Well, they've synthesized them to replicate them, but the plants are, yes, the plant is our identical match. They've done the extra step of going and patent these compounds, which is supposed to be an illegal process. You can't patent a plant.
Nature.
They're doing it though, and they've hid it from us because they don't want it in the medical system at all. Like, the discoveries of this will ruin their system. Like, at large, the more and more people know endocannabinoid system, ECS, it's going to blow their shit because people are going to start being like, oh, that's our pain receptors?
Mm-hmm.
Pain. Everybody has pain. You think you're just sore, or you think that it's your aches in your bodies. No, it's your endocannabinoid system not having the proper support to trigger and communicate to your body, other organs, to be like, hey, do your job. It doesn't have the communication without that. And without us empowering it, either breath, fascia, or with like consumption products, terpenes and cannabinoids, the system's inactive. It's deficient.
So I'm sure that we're going to talk a little bit about consumption, maybe a lot about it. But before we get there, you're mentioning breath and fascia. Could you go into each of those?
Yeah.
Like, how does it correlate with all this?
Yeah. So breath is it's our life. It's our life force. When we breathe, though, the endocannabinoid system, with certain directed, focused breath, the receptors are embedded in us. It's not like these receptors aren't easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do proper activations to be able to like navigate either our breath, a very specific terpene aroma, or like the cannabinoids to get into those crevices to where those receptors are. Because if the receptors are in our fascia, that's not easy to get to. Like, you can't just touch your fascia or just like drink something and it get to your fascia. Fascia is like one of the hardest things to access. So we need to physically engage in that fascia, and that's through fascia movements to actually touch and trigger those receptors to have enough compression for them to be like, activate, and they activate. So it's either by breath breathing into our lungs, which is enough consumption for it to go and to get into the little small pathways in our fascia and in our lungs that are like, activate. So then it activates, or it's through smell because it's breaking the blood-brain barrier to get into the blood, to go down, just access all of our systems. much faster than having to process through any type of organ. So it's breaking right away. And then again, the consumption. So like, just depending on which way you're attacking it would be how you want to focus in on that. So breath would be very specific breathwork, unique, techniques. Fascia would be very specific fascia movements in specific areas in the body, like in the gut. We have tons of cannabinoid receptors in our gut, spleen, liver, gallbladder. I mean, they're literally based everywhere. We just have to dig deep enough to like trigger those receptors or have the plant come in and support the process.
And different receptors have different effects.
They do, yeah.
And so there's different receptors in different parts of your body. So you'd almost need to have a map of like where they are.
And the book has the map.
Right, I saw that.
Yes.
So
there's a map that we can kind of locate some of these receptors. So there's 7 main receptor groups within the cannabinoid system. And so those groups depend on really where it's concentrated. It doesn't mean that that's where every single one of the receptors are at, because we need communication receptors. So like we have a lot of receptors in our brain that are in our belly because they communicate the same. It's this like CB1 and CB2. They're different, but they're communicating. We also have our CB1 receptors, which are concentrated in our brain. They're also in our gut. So they're also sending the same signals to each other. So like they're linked up in partnership throughout our body because it's the communication network. It is the highway that sends the messages to the organs. And if that message and the highway's off, or it's not open, active, you're closed and like you can't access that pathway. So the endocannabinoid system is that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is Dani. She's an author of this book called An Introduction to Aromatic Breathwork. I just wanted to share that there's diagrams that have the receptor sites in the body.
Yeah.
That's cool. So in terms of the products, what I'm hearing is that there's receptors all over the body. There's ways that we gain access and what's being produced through breath and movement. Because if there's receptors, then does the breath or movement produce the cannabinoid that would then go into the receptor? How does that work?
That is exactly that. So by breath and or consumption or fascia movement, we're producing our own endocannabinoids. So we're born with this system that naturally produces itself.
Right.
But we need to, it's there subtly all the time. Like, otherwise we wouldn't be breathing, literally. But to activate it to where we're getting the benefits of the actual endocannabinoid and receptor meetup,
right,
is we need to turn that on, and that's through the things that I keep on mentioning. We can't activate that system unless we're purposefully activating the system.
Right.
And so it's really important that we do this because it's the most, I just can't express it enough. It's the most important system that we have.
Yeah.
Respiratory is great, but we wouldn't have respiratory without endocannabinoid system. Like, the immune system, great, wouldn't have it without the endocannabinoid system. All of our systems that we are taught in school that we think are, oh my God, so important, there's something that actually runs those. And so being able to even learn about this is like so good for people because they just haven't been taught this and they think, oh my God, I can never get better, or they're diagnosed for life with really crazy issues, really serious diagnoses, but it can be really positively supported and affected by just tending to your endocannabinoid system. Like, it's just like going outside and doing the sunlight. It's one of these things that we need integrated into our daily lives because that's how heavily it impacts us. I mean, it's our pain, our communication, our sleep, our mood. If all those receptors are off, look at fucking people in the world today. Like, clearly, no one's activated. Clearly, we're all deficient of this one receptor system because we're so heavily focused on all the other receptor systems, but we can't fix those until we fix this. Like, actually.
What would be an example of another receptor system besides the...
The immune system.
Okay.
the parasympathetic nervous system or central nervous system.
So they're addressing that when there's another foundation that's broken.
Yeah. The cannabinoid system supports our central nervous system. It's the communication to be like, hey, central nervous system, what's up?
Yeah.
And everybody's got nervous system regulation issues, right? Pretty much everybody that I know. It's because we're, yes, tending to the nervous system, but that's only going to be good for so long. We need to support the system that's supporting the system. Then you have longevity. Then you have then your nervous system is really stabilizing and actually getting better. It's not just a very quick, okay, like little breathwork session. No, you need to be doing this daily. It's like water. It actually is like water. I mean, I tell the people that I work with, we have to consume this every day. Otherwise, we're deficient. Like our receptors only last so long. I mean, like they've studied them. They really only last like 4 to 6 hours at most, like an activation. So if we're not activating this system every 4 to 6 hours, we're like really deficient. And people that have, lung issues, one of their main deficiencies is the endocannabinoids. We can measure our endocannabinoid system too, clinically. So like we can measure the fact that, oh no, you don't have your receptors processing. They're not accepting because you're not producing. You're not naturally producing this system. You're only taking, the only time people started feeling good was when they started doing the CBD, and everybody was feeling good because it was tending to the main system. They couldn't really figure out why. Well, it's tending to the main system that operates all the systems.
Okay, so in regards to consumption,
yes,
we're talking about needing to know what does what, and I'm assuming since you're the first license holder of hemp, of cannabis, you've probably been in the game for a really long time. Yeah. So what can you tell us about how these things work? Because it's still a little bit diluted because we aren't properly educated on this endocannabinoid system. And like most people, when they think of CBD, they're just thinking CBD.
Yes.
So that's
their fucked up system.
Right.
Yeah. So we can get CBD mainly out of cannabis. I mean, we can get cannabinoid-like molecules in other plants, but it's not going to be the exact blueprint that we need. Cannabis is actually the only plant that produces cannabinoids at large, the only one on the planet. Now, terpenes are different. So cannabinoids are going to go in. Let me just go back to the cannabinoids. The cannabinoids are going to go in and identically replicate our system. They're going to be like, oh, okay. It's like water to us, structured water, not regular water. It's like structured water or urine therapy. It's like our body needs this type of stuff, you know? But if you give it into like a synthetic form, like the Marinol or like the fake CBD that they're synthesizing, it's not going to do the same thing, okay? It's kind of like getting a cannabinoid-like molecule out of a different plant versus cannabis. It's going to do a little bit, but not nearly what the actual blueprint is going to do. So that blueprint out of the cannabis plant matches us identically. And then we have even more support with the cannabis plant with the terpenes, because the terpenes actually are the other factor in assisting our body in triggering those receptors. You can do it with cannabinoids, or you can phytocannabinoids, endocannabinoids, which is your own, so plant ones, endo ones, or terpenes. And terpenes, the reason why terpenes come to play is because they're breaking the blood-brain barrier when you're dealing with the olfactory system. So when you breathe in, these molecules are being able to pass by the blood-brain barrier to go right into the blood system and give you full impact. So that's why the nasal inhalers, boom, they're like really impactful because you're getting super potent terpenes breaking the blood-brain barrier and impacting your system with anti-inflammatory, antifungal, anticonvulsant, like goes down the list of whatever you're directing it to be. So those are the 3 types of like outside forms of consumption that you can, the phyto's inside, but those are the forms from the cannabis plant that you can get to trigger this system. But terpenes are hydrocarbon molecules. They're in all plants, flowers, trees, herbs. So we pick those up naturally, just eating them. So we either focus on it or we can naturally do it. Just depends on the person, how they want to go about activating their own system. So you don't need cannabis, but it's there for you. Like, it's the best support plant for you for this system.
So terpenes are going into the ECS.
Yes. Because the ECS is triggered by 7 main receptor groups. So it's not just CB1 and CB2. There's a system called your TRPV1 receptor group. Terpenes trigger that. Terpenes trigger our TRPV2 receptor group, our A2A receptor group, our GABA groups. Like GABA receptors, certain of my products trigger those GABA receptors. GABA is pretty big in the world of medicine, you know, and all you're doing is breathing this stuff in and triggering your GABA receptors, which produce better neurofeedback and processing and plasticity and all that stuff. So it's like, which way do you want to go about it? You know, because I wanted to create products and have created products for people to just use at their own application that fits them. Not one product's going to fit everybody. It just is impossible. So creating products and all different types of products where people can apply it, along with the education where they can use it themselves or maneuver themselves or breathe better themselves. That's what this mission, my mission is to do, is to get that and the terps and the education of all that out. But it's those 3 things.
So that nasal spray that you mentioned,
yeah,
what's that product called and what does it do?
So I have it. So it's right here if you want to do it with me. So these are
Chill.
That one's chill. This one's breathe. And then I have one that's think. And these are aromatic profiles. So I don't like to call it aromatherapy and I don't like to call it essential oils because I'm actually dealing with just the hydrocarbon molecules of terpenes. So I'm taking them uniquely, very specific, restacking them how I want them as far as the benefit I want your body to be. I was not paying attention to the aromatic that it was going to express at the end of the day. I was just wanting to be like, I want you to have less anxiety because I suffer with anxiety. So I built myself a product called Chill. And it actually works for anxiety because I created it to. Just like the Breathe one, it's an actual bronchodilator, helps with your lungs, help with sinus and congestion. It's an antifungal, antimicrobial. It's amazing for like, you know.
Are we going to be doing all these?
Right now?
Yeah.
We'll be overwhelmed if that's the case.
So can I have that sync one
Yeah.
instead? I'm already like...
Chill.
Yeah, I'm like perma-chilled.
Yeah, the chill would really knock you out because it really heavily affects your receptors. The think one is good for cognitive health. It is good for memory and Alzheimer's. So that's the terpene profiles that are in there that's going to tend to those receptors when you breathe it in. But you can't just lightly breathe it in. You have to breathe it in with breath work at a count to be able to hold it and trigger the receptors. It has to be able to penetrate the system. And like a quick breath is good and you'll get a little bit, but to get the full impact, you really need to breathe it in.
So are we going to do that right now?
We're going to.
All right.
Yes. Okay. So some of the breath works, there's different pairings in the book. You really can do what you want, but we have suggested certain types of breathwork pairings with different types of products so that you can really get the best out of it. And it kind of enhances, the breathwork enhances the product. And that's because the breathwork is directed towards either anxiety, more cognitive inclination, or breath and like bronch.
This is amazing. So just to clarify, just so you can repeat it again, you actually this product comes with a set of suggested breathwork to use
in the book, yes. And then it'll show you which receptors it's being triggered. So when I'm breathing, these are the receptors being triggered. And then you can walk away with that medicine. You're like, I know this just happened. Even though you don't have a doctor checking it off, it's clinically, scientifically proven in multiple hundreds of studies. It's just, I'm delivering it in a way where people can use it consistently and at home on a daily basis.
Cool.
Yeah. So breath work, a basic one would be a 4-4-4, the box breath. So, but you want to do it in both nostrils and you want to do it repetitively. So you want to do the think, you'd probably want to do it 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Breathwork 444, and the breathe is good. Like a breathwork with this is either the 444 or the 478. So because it, again, you're holding it in, the longer you're holding it, the better and the more receptors you're triggering. If you just quick breathing, it's like fluff. I like to say it's like fluff. You're just literally smelling something. It's not doing the work.
Yeah. And just so you guys, if you're unfamiliar with the ratios that Dani's mentioning, it would be 4 on the inhale, 4 holding the inhale for 4 seconds, I should say, and then 4 on the exhale, and then 0 for holding the exhale.
Yeah.
So that's where like 4, 7, 8 would be 4 inhale, hold for 7, 8 on the exhale, and then 0 hold on the exhale. You just immediately go back into the 4-second inhale. Okay, so we're both doing 4, 4, 4. Is that?
Let's do it.
All right. So is it 4, and then the next inhale is the other nostril?
So you do the whole breath work. 4, 4, 4. Pause. Next nostril. 4, 4, 4. Next nostril. 4, 4, 4. Next nostril.
And how does this work?
So you can, depending on how strong you want it, you can put it up as close to the nose as you want. But you just cover one nasal, breathe in the other. 4 count, hold. 4 count, release. Restart it with the other nostril and back and forth. So
we're just like literally inhaling. There's no like mechanical thing in here.
There's no, it's just on the inside, it's just like a little wick. And then we put the terpenes on the wick and it just stays present and nice and tight. Because hydrocarbon molecules, they disappear just with air, heat.
Volatility.
Yeah, they're just so volatile. So the goal is like once you use it, you pop that sucker back in. We're just bringing her out. Okay, so ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
I'm gonna do one more. This is amazing.
Right. How you feel?
I mean, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Like I've never experienced anything like that before.
Oh, yes, I'm so happy.
So like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you feel the layers and the different notes hit?
yeah.
Okay, because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to feel layering, if that makes sense. You should really feel it almost unfold when you breathe it.
Yeah.
You smell it, and the holding of it is the unlayering.
It was like
yeah,
like unflowering.
it was. Yeah, it is exactly that. And that you hold the holding of it, puts it into your throat, and so like it's actually, because the olfactory is taste, smell, mouth. It's the whole process. So you're tasting and the smelling, and that's going, and you're just like, it helps expand your lungs. That means it's getting into your bronchioles. If you're tasting that, that's down into your lungs. That means those terpenes are down into your lungs and activating. And they're really, from there, expanding out into all the crevices and all the places that it needs to go to. And that's the product.
And the terpenes in here are coming directly from plants?
Yes, they're coming directly from plants. Some of them are coming derived from cannabis plants.
Okay.
Some are derived from wide range plants like citruses, mangoes, black peppers, just depending on what the terpene is. But there is a couple of unique ones as far as like the terpenes that I like to go after, like bisabolol is one of them. I like that because of cannabis, not necessarily because of chamomile. It's also in chamomile. So when that extraction comes down to it, it would be more of like I would source it from our cannabis base versus go for a chamomile extract and try and extract it from that. Because again, terpenes are in all things. Like the same terpene, like, so I like to use this one as a good example because everybody knows lavender. Everybody. Okay, so there's a compound in lavender called linalool. The hydrocarbon molecule called linalool. Linalool is actually in cannabis also. It's actually in grapes. It's actually in guava. It's actually in a bunch of different shit. Like, what ratio is it in that plant that makes it so great? But it's the same compound in all of them. So you're still getting the same benefit. It's just at what ratio? Are you getting that? So these I've constantly...
Ratio is everything.
The ratio is everything.
Yeah.
So you breathing in that potent amount of ratio, there's linalool in there. There's beta-caryophyllene in there. Beta-caryophyllene is from peppers, black peppers. So breathing these in, at the potency, it's different than taking black pepper. It's different than lavender because the potency of it is pure. It's like strong. It's pure molecule essence. So that's what's breaking the blood-brain barrier. When you breathe in lavender, say in aromatherapy, you're getting benefits, but you're not getting the strong amounts of benefits as you are in my chill. You just aren't. It's like you could not compare the two of them together. The ratio factors, way different. Linalool is way more potent than this than it would ever be in lavender. Okay? So it's working with the compound in that way so that that product, that thing, actually does.
There's, yeah. I think you're explaining this, but if somebody were to just say, what's the difference between essential oils and this? Is there a difference?
There is.
I mean, I hear you saying it, but what would be your answer to that?
So essential oils, it is the ratio makeup also. And it's the fact that they're working with a whole plant. I'm working with the molecule of the plant. And so their makeup ratio is going to be different than mine. They're going to have other polyphenols, other different types of esters, other types of flavonoids. It's all going to be within that. Mine is focused on terpenes. Like the top ratios in all my products are terpenes. And they're the terpenes that break the blood-brain barrier. It's not the terpenes that don't, because there's so many terpenes out there. Just depends on what basically type of hydrocarbon link is 1 to 12, which one is it, how strong it's going to be, how aromatic the burst will be, the flavor will be. So I've taken the ones that actually cross the blood-brain barrier to do exactly, because I just had, the plant told me what to do. Ultimately, it was the plant that was like, okay, this is what you need to do. And then I make it make sense. It's really all just, if you know really a lot of my deep work, I'm really working on this with the plant. And she really guides me and tells me what exactly I need to do. And then I fortunately have a slew of people I've donated to and worked with over 15 years that I then get to trial these products on. And then it becomes true, and then I make a product and I release it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really how it works low-key, because it doesn't just, I'm not like, oh, terpenes. No, it's like I get a total download.
Right. Can you talk a little bit more about that to go from low-key to revealing a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah. So like the very first time that I've been working with this plant for a while, but there was a moment in, I guess you could say, my career when we first got the first seeds for our very first farm. It came to me in a dream where I was supposed to be growing this plant for aromatics. It just was a dream. Like, grow this plant for people to use for aromatic purposes. Remember, this is your memory. This is you. It's your remembrance. So that was my first dream. It was in 2014. We plant the seeds. We have our first crop, whatever it is. All the years pass over. I have been donating and been a caregiver since 2008. So really what happened was I came across a little girl that needed some oils, and I had oils, but they were all very strain specific back in the day. So like meaning the extract was like, okay, this plant was for sure an OG Kush. This one was Flow. This is Tahoe OG. This is, Lemon G, and all these different types of very unique extracts. So I was able to work with people on okay, this is your lavender. But it's with cannabis, So I was very specific with it because I knew how it was working in their body. Where I learned how it was working in their body. I didn't know right away, but I learned with this girl that had seizures that only one strain was working for her, just one. And it was a very unique profile. It's called Flow, but it's not just any Flow. It's actually from a very certain breeder called DJ Short. It's called Flow. So he created this genetic, has a very unique profile. She didn't have any seizures with that, but no matter what other cannabinoid or plant, like cannabis plant I introduced to her, she'd still have seizures even though there's THC and CBD present in it. So the terpenes are the experience of plants, period. It's what you experience in the plant. So that's what I'm bringing to people is the experience of thinking better, cognitive health, the experience of relaxing and being able to be sedated. And like this experience, because that's what essence is. It's the experience of the plant in human form.
Do you have any words on why that experience exists to begin with?
Oh, the plant is, a conscious being. So all of our plants are conscious being. I just feel like there's certain ones that are a little bit more tapped into Earth and our planetary process and our evolution because they've been here longer. And they've actually have a very special cosmic consciousness that's a part of them. And the cosmic consciousness is because we are all cosmic beings. We're electromagnetic beings. All the planets, everything we're here is just this beautiful experience. But the plant has, with us, evolved, or on the planet, I should say first, because it was here on the planet first. It's evolved with the planet, and the planet is its own being. It's like two long lost friends that have been together for forever. And they just know so much about each other. They know everything about each other. That's fungus, cannabis, and planet Earth. Those are your best friends. You want a trifecta? Those are the three: Earth, cannabis, and mushrooms, because it's helping evolve this planet. They're conscious beings. That it's like, that's the plant medicine for the planet, not just us.
Right.
It's for the planet first. So it's been here with the planet.
We are part of the planet.
And we are part of the planet. That's why we have an identical blueprint as cannabis. Like phytocannabinoid system, endocannabinoid system. How the fuck did that happen naturally? You tell me. It's cosmic. It was definitely guided and put here for a purpose, whoever wants to believe in that or not. I fully am a believer because I know, I have an inner knowing that that's the fact. It's not even, I have to guess it. I know for a fact these beings are here to help our planet's process, which then bleeds into the people and the beings and the plants and the animals that are on it. And so that's what, it's odd to look at it in that type of perspective because most people don't. They can't wrap their head around that concept. But those two species, because they're not even just plants, they're species. They've here and they've helped this planet in such intricate ways, like networks. Mycelium. It's everything. We are mycelium, we are cannabis also, because we have an endocannabinoid system that is exactly like the phytocannabinoid system.
So the fungus is essentially like the internet of the earth, and DMT, which is in fungus, it's in mushrooms. That's sprinkled throughout all of nature, and it's essentially like growing the nerves of the earth. And so that, if you don't disagree with me on that, you can add something.
No, I completely agree.
So that makes sense to me from a mushroom standpoint. And then, so cannabis, what is cannabis's role?
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about it being receiving.
It is. It's the receptor. It's the data receptor and the data information giver. You know, like when people get high, they just know more shit.
Yeah.
But it's subtle. It's not like mushrooms. It's a different knowing. Mushrooms give you a different knowing than cannabis. Cannabis gives you a, it helps you know more about your physical, like your receptor being, you as a receptor being. Mushrooms really, again, I feel like the way that the mushrooms, and because I've seen it in people, mushrooms are the network and they regrow. It's like the pathway to regrow things. But how do you connect the pathway without the communication? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The pathway's there, but what opens up the pathway? It's the communicators. It's the receptors that are like, this is open, this is open, this is open, this is open. All right, mushrooms, lead in. Let's go, mushrooms. Lead the path, rewire everything. Well, the ones that are like, rewire everything is the cannabinoids. They're like, here, this is the path to go to. This is the path to go to. Ding, ding, ding. I need help. Ding, ding, ding. And then the mushrooms integrate and they rebuild. So the cannabis is here to help us basically. There's so many things. It's hard to even put into words. She's the homeostasis of the planet. The homeostasis of all beings. Homeostasis meaning the masculine and the feminine balance of all things, including the planet. Because it's the masculine and the feminine. It taps into both. Fungi is different because it does different things. It's not necessarily masculine or feminine. This taps into those energies. It's actually connected to our Ida and our Pingala channels. Believe it or not, the masculine and the feminine part of the plant. It's the only plant that actually activates those channels, and it can either give them either more power or less power. That's why some people feel drained when they smoke. That's why some people feel energized when they smoke, because it's tapping into that masculine and feminine aspect of the person. Period. They just don't know it, you know?
Right.
So that's ultimately why it's here. It's here for the planet in that way, because it brings balance from earth to sky. In us, it brings us from heart to mind. That's what it's doing. It's balancing our masculine and our feminine to make us not be so fucking wacky. But we're all, including the planet, is out of homeostasis. If we just grew a bunch of fucking hemp and quit cutting down the goddamn trees, we would be a little bit better. I promise you the planet would like us a little bit more. It's the homeostasis. If we stop doing concrete and we start doing hempcrete, promise you the fucking planet is going to like us a little bit more. You know, it's the same thing with our bodies. If we just gave it to our bodies, even in small ratios, it's just like a little bit. I promise your body's going to like you better. You know, it's just like little things.
Yeah. We'll get to industrial hemp in a second. This is super interesting for me because you helped me make a connection. I usually don't talk about psychedelics, including cannabis, including mushrooms, because I don't use them. But I have in my history, and I did it as like after 30 years old. So it's already very aware. And using cannabis, I was like, oh, like there's this feeling called high, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get it until I did a few, which is all I've done, like a few sessions with mushrooms, psilocybin. And then I realized like that context gave me an awareness of the essence of the plants. It's like the cannabis for me, or the THC, I should say, it really opened up my sensations and made me aware of like senses. This is where like I can hear in like other dimensions, and I can see in a way that I couldn't ever see before. And then for me, mushrooms was connection. So it was like connecting me to the earth, to the plant. It was like to my history, to my past, to my future. It was like connecting. It was like this connective energy. Earlier, and I get that with mycelium and mushrooms, because it's like it's transferring information throughout the ground. But earlier, when you were talking about the cannabis plant, earlier meaning we're both on a regenerative farm right now, and we were having a discussion earlier today. You were talking about how the cannabis plant is actually receiving data from
all the other plants.
Right.
Yes.
And so that made sense. I was like, oh, that's what I feel I get more of when I used to, edibles was my thing when I used to consume cannabis. And so could you go into that a little bit? Because most people don't think about plants as receivers.
So cannabis is a different plant than most plants, though. So she's the mother plant of all terpenes. She's a master receptor, okay? So this plant so let me break that down. So the mother of all terpenes. Mother of all terpenes means that this plant is a receptor out in the world. And what it does when it's in its growth spurt is it's actually out there collecting data. It actually also collects pollen, okay? That's why there's a male-female aspect to it. It's because the male collects the pollen. The female collects the pollen. So it's like it is a receiver in a way. But does it receive just cannabis? No, it doesn't. It receives all the pollens because all plants have their own information.
Right.
Where is it released? Pollen. It's the only way that it gets out there into the world is through pollen. That's that male. That's that masculine. Shooting out that shit. Oh, babies. Okay? They got babies.
Unborn baby bear. Everywhere.
So the babies are everywhere. And the plant's out there just receiving all the babies. But the babies are actually essence. They're plant essence from other plants. That's the way they're receiving. It's receiving the essence of other plants. The terpene, because terpenes travel in pollen, part of the makeup, you're receiving some of these terps. So over time, since the plant has actually been all around the world, it's grown in all crevices of the world, all aspects of the planet. It's been from China to Europe to Russia, to Africa, over here to the northern and southern, Hawaii. It's literally all over the world. And with that being all over the world, it's collecting data in all of these areas. It's collecting data from the plants in China and Russia, literally all plants. So it's not very limited to its own little region, collecting its own little pollens in that space. That's why I call it the master collector, the mother of all terpenes, because it's literally all over the world, collecting all the data and then transcribing it to the people and to the planet that need it. Okay, so it's it holds the data in the product, in the makeup of the plant. When we consume it, and we are downloaded with that data. That's how it works. That's the receptor of the plant working to be the provider for us, and us being the receptor of the plant. That's how that endocannabinoid, the cannabinoids work, and the terpene is being integrated into that.
Right.
And that's how it's being, but no, it's not absorbing other plant cannabinoids because there aren't plants that produce other cannabinoids. It's just cannabis, but it is collecting all the other terpenes. So that's why when you go through a field of cannabis, doesn't even matter what strain, you can smell it. You smell wonders of different types of plants, not just one.
Potent.
It's potent, and you're getting a sprawl. That's just one strain. Go to the next strain. You're getting another amazing, just, world of aromatics. Something you'd never smell. But go to lavender, that shit is the same, basically in every single strain. A little bit different. Yeah. But the same, literally in all of them.
Right.
Same with peppermint, same. Mint, same. All that shit's the same.
Right.
Cannabis, not the same.
It's different characters, different
She's
personalities.
She is that's why when we do cannabis, that's why people get those downloads, and it's just like stuff they've never heard before, seen before, felt before. It's because it's literally receiving new information.
Yeah, definitely receiving information. I also feel that it's that receptor essence.
Yeah.
Is like, that's what I feel like turns on. I become like a greater receiver.
You are a receptor.
Yeah, it's just like everything.
Your receptors are active. Their endocannabinoid system, we have receptors. That's what they are. It's an endocannabinoid system of receptors. The endocannabinoids we naturally produce, but the cannabinoid system we have to be able to receive things. That's the information that's coming into our receptors. That's why you feel full, because you actually are receiving information into those receptors. When you do fascia movements and breath work, you're receiving vital life force information, which is going in, and that's going in and triggering anti-inflammatory cytokines in our body just by breathing. Because our body knows, like, that's when we intentfully do it, the system will match our intention. It's a very intelligent system, just like we are. So, like, if our intent is there, it will match. It will match what we want to do. And when we use products, it's definitely going to match what we want to do. Like, it's going to direct what we want to do, not just match it. It'll direct it and enhance it.
Talk to me about industrial hemp.
Okay. What do you want to talk about? Because it's so vast.
If we just start at like the one sentence definition of what industrial hemp is, and then what are the applications that are possible because of it that are different than how we're currently expanding as a civilization on this planet.
Okay, so industrial hemp. So industrial hemp is so let me take a step back just real fast before I dig into industrial hemp. Let me just categorize it real fast, because cannabis is its own species. Humans actually dissected it into hemp and marijuana. So it's the only reason why there's hemp and marijuana is because of this legal ratio of 0.3 THC. So that actually categorizes it into cannabis into marijuana, or into hemp. That's the only factor that's different. Now, if you see the structure of cannabis, there's definitely different types, okay? But it doesn't mean that it's like a different plant. It's just evolved in a different area to do different things, and that's just what happens naturally. So, industrial hemp is, in my opinion, all things the structure of our world. We can build with industrial hemp. It's food, fiber, fuel. Okay, and also building materials. It's really the essence in plastics. It's the essence of why cannabis is illegal, is because of industrial hemp. It's not because of the cannabinoids, believe it or not. It's because of the impact of how heavy industrial hemp had on the world at one time, and it was taken away in this whole setting up of America. So let me just take a couple of steps back just real quick. Cannabis was the largest grown crop in the world always, up until basically the Christopher Columbus and his crew decided to come to America. Now, why did they come to America? What's the story they told us? Freedom, right?
Yeah.
Expand, right? What are they expanding? They were expanding their hemp growth. They needed more rope. Actually, believe it or not, the only reason why they came to the Americas was for more land, because Africa wouldn't let them grow. It was growing big in Africa. China wouldn't let them grow. It was going big in China. Russia said, oh, fuck no, you guys aren't coming here. And they actually basically had to go and find more land to grow more hemp, because it was the start of the Industrial Revolution. It was the start of it. Ropes. Like ropes of scale. How do you go across the world? You take a fucking ship and you go on your ropes. Your ropes are the only thing that take you from here to there. It's the only thing that you can, do the, what do you think? Dropped it in the water, the anchor. I mean, the whole thing.
It's holding the sails.
It's everything. It's rope. It was the industrial push to be able to expand. So they came to America to try and grow more hemp. In that process, everything went to crap, basically, because it was the largest agricultural production that the world had ever had. Everything was based off of it. Food, fiber, and fuel. Diesel was being ran off of it. I mean, literally all ropes were being made out of it. Textiles, they were making different types of plastics and hard barrier type things. It is as strong as steel. So there was so many products that could dilute the money that people had already started to invest in this petrochemical industry, because you can actually make chemicals for a lot cheaper, even growing industrial hemp. As cheap as industrial hemp is, you can still make it cheaper, fake, as you can with everything. So that was really the issue, I guess, as to why industrial hemp really was regulated. Otherwise, it would have been our largest growing crop to this day. It was the people that had invested into that chemical to do plastics and to just basically start putting in pharma. And it was that whole group that said no industrial hemp. That's why they put 1937, can't grow no more hemp here in the United States. But up until then, every person was actually paid to grow hemp in their backyard in the United States. Like, they paid people to grow hemp because they needed it for rope. But then the wars went off. They didn't need rope no more because plastics came in and plastics were discovered. So in a large scale, industrial hemp is that. It's everything. We can do plastics with it. We can do paper with it. We can build houses with it, insulation. We can do roads with it. We can feed people with it. We can clothe with it. We can clean our water with it. I mean, we can do medicine with it. You can, like, literally, it's almost, it's the masculine side. That's what brings it back to that masculine and feminine, the masculine part of our life. It's building, it's progression. It's like stability, it's strength, cleans the soil, cleans the air. It's like, it's for that aspect. The feminine aspect of the plant is the beauty, the essence, the colors, the flowers, the fact that you can get aphrodisiacs out of it, the fact that it connects to the system. It's like that feeling, it's the senses, but it also has that stability to it. That's why it's a perfect balance. If you can now see my intent behind, like, the balance of the masculine and the feminine, the planet and the people, is literally, it builds stuff, it stabilizes stuff, we can use it, but then it also processes and goes through our whole life to make us feel better, act better, enjoy things, have fun, that whole process. That's the energetic aspect.
Right. That whole story makes sense because Rockefeller and then the whole oil industry, and they shut down all the natural health schools and converted all of our universities over to promoting pharmaceuticals, which is made from the oil industry, and plastic is the enemy of plastic would be hemp.
It is.
And so, of course, they're going to just shut down and make illegal.
It is. It's their biggest enemy. And it's always been. But that's why people ask me all the time, so do you think it's ever going to be, legal in the United States? I actually don't think it will ever be legal because, at least in the United States, because of the way that they brought it here to make it as an example. They used the United States as an example to show, oh, we can do this. Like, we're going to control you guys, So as long as they have that stronghold here in America, I don't really see it uplifting anywhere else. But that's why it's up to the people to really just kind of start utilizing it on a daily basis, because the more popular and the more use there is, the more hemp houses there are. It just is, the system gets weaker the stronger we get, so it's just kind of applying consistency, just being consistent with it and never giving up. That's why I've done it for 15 years. And, like, I just won't give up because I really feel the planet needs the plant, the humans and animals need also. And I don't know, I just am so upset at the fact that not, that this has been such a suppressed system, because we could be well. Our planet can be well. The humans can be well. It's not like we have to be in this state. It's like it's being forced on us. So, we just have to, like, more so get together, share information, make great products, educate, and make sure that people are mindful of this, because millions of people love cannabis. I mean, not even the millions of people that love cannabis know that they even have an endocannabinoid system. I can guarantee you 75% of the people that smoke weed do not know. That means the world doesn't know if the weed smokers don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, right. We do it. We smoke it. Like, if you don't know you got an endocannabinoid system and you smoke a weed, I'm sorry. I don't even know. I can't even have that conversation. But that's where we're at, is such an ill state. We don't know what we don't know, And so getting it out there, educating it, doing these is like it's so essential to our human growth. It really is so essential.
And we would have a lot more trees if
we'd have, so fun fact with that. So every 4 months, you get a full cycle. So we can be cycling. And what I mean by 4 months, every acre produces just as much, 4 times the amount of trees does per acre. So it takes 4 acres to be 1 acre of hemp. Okay? Let's get that in our brain first. It takes 18 to 20 years for a tree to grow.
Right.
About 4 months on tree.
So what's 4 times 20? That's the real difference.
Yeah. 4 times 20 is 800 or 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, the impact of that, but then you get what it grows. Like, so the ratios of abundance. So you only plant about 50 pounds an acre of seed. You get 2,000 pounds in return. Talk about abundance.
It's the world can change instantly.
I want to feed people with it. Like the other goal was to go feed everybody with it. That was the aromatics and then the food. It was really actually never anything other than that. But I just turned it into other stuff. It was like the planet needs aromatics and the planet needs food. So do this. Distribute. And so that's what I did. But the food is abundant. It's like really phenomenal, the amounts of food.
And what's Nature's Root?
So Nature's Root is the CBD company that I created. It actually came from a dream because we didn't have any buyers our first year in business. And so I created the company because I didn't want to look like a failure. And so it's fortunately been our biggest selling product over the years. And it's absolutely amazing. But it's just, this one is sore muscle salve, it's a tincture, and then it's a product called Wound Care, which is basically like Neosporin, but way better and no toxins.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm outside all the time. When you go into nature, you get taxed, usually with cutting yourself on a stick or
totally
something.
Yeah. And that one's the sore muscle. But the other one, got like a third, fourth degree burn on my hand the other day before I came, and it's almost getting pretty clear. It's pretty quick acting. I've gotten multiple different surgeries. I had my appendix taken out. It was 2 weeks post surgery, went back, and the doctor was like, I can't even believe I didn't even have a scar. It was.
Does it work on old scars?
Yes. Works on old scars, works on skin. So CBD, as it being in our fascia, it's related to our skin.
Right.
So it's amazing for skin. Absolutely amazing. It regenerates. It's fast.
Yeah. What about things like wrinkles?
Amazing for wrinkles. Yeah. Like CBD is just, we really need it for all aspects of our body because it's, again, the system that triggers all the other systems. It is that system. There's no other system. How else are we going to tend to it if we're not doing what we need to do? Honestly, I really don't get it.
And I see roll-ons over there. What are those?
So these are the roll-on of the nasal inhalers. So the chill one is really great for anticonvulsant also. People that have seizures can put this on the bottom of their feet because it's really quick acting and effective.
So it's the same thing, but it absorbs through the skin as opposed to...
through the nose.
Amazing. Yes. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just so grateful for the conversation.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you. I know that a lot of people have as well, and it's super nice to have somebody who's been in the game from the beginning.
Yes.
And it's also very pleasurable to hear that your intentions were pure the whole time. Yeah. It's almost like you were chosen to be in that role.
100%. I think I don't know really many people that started when I did that still are in it, that have had such a positive impact in people's lives. And I don't want to like put me on a pedestal or anything, but I do want to highlight this industry and the fact that there is so much abundance in it and you can create so much abundance for it, but people are holding it for themselves. Like, that's why the industry is whack, is because there's not enough giving. The plant wants to be given away. It actually doesn't even want to be charged. She just wants to be given to people because she grows abundantly. That's what abundant plants want. They want to be fucking given out. They don't want to be charged. Like, the energy of them does not want to. So the abundance, I just been in so many wonderful roles to grow so much abundance that for me, it never made sense when someone came to me that was like, I need this oil. My daughter's dying. My sister's dying. My mom's dying, to charge them. Like, it really, actually, still to this day, makes no sense to me. Like, why would you charge someone if you had abundance and it's not going to affect you personally? Why would you not give it? But the people in this industry are so corrupt. They're so corrupt. They just keep it for themselves. They don't give it to the people that are in need. They're like, oh no, I'll still charge you because I can't. It's absolutely crazy. So my intention in the industry has always been to make that my forefront of giving, because that's my contract with the plant. It's actually nothing outside of that. I have like a sole contract with this plant to do this work, and I'm doing it. You know, I don't even know what else to say. I'm not going to go and make it of myself, because it's not. I'm just the pure vessel. I am a chosen vessel. We're all chosen vessels, actually. We're just chosen to do what we're doing. And if you listen to the call, you'll keep doing what you need to do. And I've seen so many people's lives impacted. You can't not answer the call. That's what it came down to. Too many people were becoming well after using the products. I just could not. The planet, too many people were becoming happy planting this plant. I just could not.
So we got naturesroot.com and betteraromatherapy.com. Also, those are both on Instagram, Nature's Root on Instagram, and then at better_aromatherapy on Instagram. And I do want to say that it was refreshing hearing you speak about giving this medicine to as many people as possible, and that these companies have empowered you to do that at a greater scale. Yeah. And also the positivity, and you just mentioned abundance, like you speak from a very abundant standpoint, and so many people I hear nowadays talking about the cannabis industry are coming from a point of like, oh, it's going to crap now and I'm getting out, and that's like all I've been hearing over the last year or two.
Karma, though, for them.
And right, so that's like,
that's the plant saying, get the fuck out of my space.
Yeah, exactly. So that's,
She's funny.
Like I can hear and feel a very distinct difference about how this is treating you and how you're serving with it versus some other people who saw a business opportunity.
Totally, yeah. And it's the experience, because not a lot of people are looking for the experience except for themselves. They just want to experience for themselves. But again, this plant is for everybody. So it's ego that's holding it to the self. It's not our natural sense. It's the ego that's like, oh no, I can't give this away because if I do, I may go broke, or my business may go away, or blah, blah, blah. It's that. It's nothing other than that. So it's really just approaching it as with the knowing. Again, I have the knowing. Not a lot of people do. I have a deep knowing that this plant is abundant. It's for us. It's here for us. And it's, if we work with her, she'll work with us. It's never an equal energy exchange. She's been in my opinion, I called it raped, because she's very feminine, and THC is very, in my opinion, just an awful industry, and it's abused. It's being raped. This plant is being raped for one compound. What the fuck? This plant's so much more than one compound? Let's use it more than one compound. Let's go a little bit more, 2, 3, like something, you know what I'm saying? It's like I consider the THC the tits and the CBD the ass. That's all you're getting is tits and ass, but there's so much more to her. She's so abundant in all of herself that we need to be able to get in and give her out and get some back. And it is an energy. It's an energy exchange at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just work well with it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
So everybody check out Dani, and also thank you, Human Garage, for hosting us this week.
Thank you, Human Garage.
Generative Farm. All right, everybody, until next time.